There are many different ways that we can combine functions to create a new function. They can be combined using addition and subtraction or multiplication and division. And then there's also another type of combination of functions called the composition of functions. And we'll get to that in the latter part of our notes. But to start off with here, we have a couple functions that are given to us. F of x equals x plus 5 and g of x equals 3x. And so we want to perform the various operations that are listed in front of us to find a new function that's the result of f plus g of x, or g minus f of x, or g times g of x, and then evaluate the function at this particular value. So in all these cases, we're just going to perform the operation as dictated to us. So for f plus g of x, it literally could be rethought as f of x plus g of x, which means we're just adding the two equations. So we would have x plus 5 as our first function, plus 3x as our second function, and so then we would just gather our like terms. 3x plus x is 4x plus 5. So this would be our new function, f plus g of x. And then if I wanted to evaluate that function at x equals 2, if we just go f plus g of 2, we just plug 2 in, or sorry, negative 2. We just plug negative 2 in for x and then evaluate it. So 4 times negative 2 plus 5. So negative 8 plus 5, so we get an output of negative 3. And if we were to go back and take negative 2 and plug it into each of these individual functions and then add those results, we'd see we'd get the same thing. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. 3 plus negative 6 gives us our output of negative 3. In the second example, much the same way as we approach the first, we're just going to kind of rethink this as g of x minus f of x. So I'm just going to subtract these two functions. Now, we do have to be careful. So here's g of x minus. We have to put that second function in parentheses in order to make sure that we distribute that negative. If we don't have the parentheses, we're going to end up with an incorrect combined function, which will then lead to incorrect outputs. So we'll have 3x minus x minus 5. So then after gathering like terms, we're going to end up with 2x minus 5 as our combined function in this way. And then to evaluate that at negative 2, I'm just going to plug negative 2 in for x right there. So 2 times negative 2 minus 5. So we get negative 4 minus 5, or negative 9. And sometimes we can use the same function twice. So here we've got g of x times g of x. So I'm going to have 3x times 3x, or my combined function is going to be 9x squared. And so then again, if we want to evaluate it at this value of negative 2, so we've got g times g of negative 2. We're going to get 9 times negative 2 squared. So we get 9 times 4, or an output of 36. So in all these cases, this is called the combination of two functions. We're just performing basic operations on two functions, or on the same function twice, to generate a new function, which we then can use to evaluate at some value.